Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the world of corporate social responsibility, or CSR for short, and we're going to tackle a really big question that pretty much every modern company has to face. Who exactly are they truly responsible for? I mean, it's a great question, right? For the longest time, the answer seemed simple. The shareholders. That was it. But today, things are way more complex. A company's actions send these ripples out into the world, and they affect a whole lot more than just the bottom line. So, let's go find out who's actually caught in those ripples.
To really get a grip on this whole universe of responsibility, we've got to know this one key term. It sits right at the heart of all things CSR, and that term is stakeholder.
Okay, let's break this down. A stakeholder is not just someone who owns stock in the company. The term is actually incredibly broad. Think of it like this. It's anyone who has a stake in the company's game. Could be an employee on the inside, a customer on the outside, or even the community that lives right next door to a factory. And this is why this whole idea is so crucial. You just can't build a meaningful CSR strategy if you don't first know who your stakeholders are. These are the people, the groups you're trying to create value for. Value that goes way beyond just making a profit. They're pretty much the audience for your company's social and ethical performance. So, where do we even begin to organize this, whole universe of people? Well, the easiest way to start is to just draw a line right at the company's front door. Are they inside the building with you, or are they out there in the wider world? And that simple question gives us our first two major categories: internal and external stakeholders. Sounds simple, right? But it's a really powerful way to start thinking about it. One group is part of the company's day-to-day life, while the other interacts with it from the outside. Let's look at who fits where. So on the inside, you can see right away how directly these folks are involved. You've got the employees, their well-being, their pay, their safety. That's a huge part of CSR. You've got management, the people who actually have to put these ethical policies into action. And of course, the owners and shareholders are in here too, because more and more they want to see sustainable, ethical growth, not just short-term profits. Now the external group. It's huge, and it's incredibly diverse. We're talking about your customers, whose trust you have to earn every single day. It's your suppliers, who need to be part of an ethical supply chain. It's the local community, government regulators, advocacy groups, even the media. All of these groups can be affected by the company, and believe me, they can absolutely affect its reputation and success in return. Okay, so we've got our inside and outside groups, but that question right there, it gets us to a much deeper level. I mean, clearly the connection an employee has is totally different from a news organization covering the company. Just knowing their location isn't the whole story. We need another lens. And that brings us to our next way of looking at this. It's a bit more nuanced. I want you to imagine a bullseye. We're going to categorize stakeholders based on how much direct impact they have or how much influence they have on the company's core mission. This gives us two new buckets: primary and secondary stakeholders. Now, the key difference is this. Primary stakeholders are the ones the business absolutely, positively can't not survive without. Secondary stakeholders? Well, their relationship is more indirect, but don't underestimate them. They can still have a ton of influence. So that inner circle, the bullseye, that's your heavy hitters. Your employees who actually make the stuff, your customers who buy it, your investors who provide the money to operate, and your key suppliers who give you the materials you need to get started. I mean, take any one of these groups out of the equation, and the whole business could just fall apart. Now, this outer circle represents groups that can really shape the environment a company operates in. Think about it. An NGO can launch a protest that goes viral. The media can completely change public perception overnight, and government bodies can create new laws and regulations that change the rules of the game. They might not be involved in the daily grind, but their influence can be absolutely massive. Okay, so now we have these two really powerful lenses for looking at stakeholders, right? Their location, internal versus external, and their impact, primary versus secondary. So what happens when we put them together? Well, we get a much, much clearer picture. This little matrix is a fantastic tool. Let's walk through it. Look at employees. They're both internal and primary. They're inside the company and essential for its survival. Now, what about customers? They're external, but they're still primary. They aren't in the company, but the company can't exist without them. Then you have a group like the media. They're both external and secondary. outside the company, and indirectly influential. See how this gives you a much more strategic view of everything?
And of course, the analysis doesn't have to stop here. A lot of the really advanced CSR frameworks, they push this thinking even further. They start to consider things like the natural environment or even future generations as their own unique types of stakeholders with their own interests at play. But in the end, it all comes back to this one simple but really powerful idea. Stakeholders are anyone at all, who can affect or be affected by what a company does, socially, environmentally, and economically. Real corporate social responsibility is all about seeing that huge interconnected web and managing your relationship with all of its parts.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you have this framework, just imagine you're the one in charge. When interests start to clash, when what's good for your shareholders isn't what's best for the local community, whose voice do you listen to the most? Whose do you prioritize? It's definitely not an easy question, but it's one that every single responsible leader has to find an answer to.